I have worked in the oil and gas industry, an industry offering exciting, yet demanding challenges for near 20 years now. I remember one of my first assignments as a subsea engineer. I was tasked with verifying the inventory delivered by our specialist contractor for a novel offshore project just before we were mobilizing. Sorting through the inventory, everything checked out, all the major components I could find except one item that was missing: the monkey fist. Yes, silly name, but it's like so many things in my industry. Anyway, I was quite upset that this item had not been delivered. And you can imagine all the thoughts that went through my head. I felt the contractor had cheated me. I was significantly disappointed with the contractor, and I was sure that the project was headed for a disaster. So I listened to my project lead, Chuck, but he calmly took me aside and said to me, "Chiwuike, maybe the first question that you need to ask is, what is the monkey fist?" I stopped. I was furious now at his implying that I did not know what I was looking for. But okay, I had to admit that I did not know what the monkey fist was. Turns out that this is the monkey fist. So I had raised a perfect storm, not for some expensive, complicated piece of machinery as I had thought, but for this simple piece of marine rope, though critical, could have easily been gotten across the street. And yes, you can say it, what a jackass. Remarkably, there was no hard feelings from this incident. Instead, the team took care of me, remaining committed to the project's success. And since then, the monkey fist has come to have a deeper meaning for me, one of learning and engagement. Today, I manage a team of 40 contractors who work offshore in support of our subsea oil-producing assets. Often, my teams have significantly more technical expertise than I in marine operations and flying remote-operated vehicles. They are closer to the everyday safety and technical challenges that come with working in a remote environment. Nevertheless, I must lead them to execute projects safely, on time, and within budget. We often wonder how we can engage our teams more effectively. Today, I want to share one of the valuable lessons I've learned from these experiences. Most of my time is spent in an office, working behind the desk, interacting with my computer, PowerPoints, and spreadsheets. But back in my monkey fist days, I would often go out offshore to execute projects. I worked with this closely knit group of extremely competent and motivated people. We worked in challenging environments, working through unpredictable weather on oil wells that were located 1,000 meters beneath the ocean surface. Still, irrespective of how difficult the task became, they would always get it done. After the monkey fist incident, I knew I needed to listen to my teams and let their expertise guide us to deliver results. We needed to support each other, irrespective of titles, backgrounds, or company designations. And through humility, mutual respect, and frank conversations, we delivered. Then I realized it was easy. The guys were self-driven and laser-focused on the success of whatever task that lay at hand. Sounds great, doesn't it? Working with people who know what to do, when to do it, and will do it instinctively, sometimes despite our own human errors. People who would quickly learn, caring for each other and for the success of the business. In the office, though, it didn't always feel exactly this way. I noticed that some teams didn't mesh well together despite being part of the same organization. And it seemed as though they lacked the same clarity of purpose as I found with the teams I worked offshore. How do teams become more engaging and self-driven? How could I take what I'd learned offshore, working in this incredibly intense but hyper-focused environment, back to the teams in the office to achieve similar results? Reflecting on the life offshore, I realized that by the very way campaigns were discreetly set up, we were always clear on the objective. Every campaign has a beginning and an end. Forming chapters within a broader narrative, we always connected each of those campaigns. And given the challenging circumstance, like the vast ocean and us small, isolated players, we knew we had to rely on each other. Like the underdog in the movie, we were always fighting to overcome specific obstacles together. And this formed an ecosystem of shared narrative, and I recognized therein the storytelling techniques. Like stories do, the immediate feedback provided by our results was a key motivator. Like, for instance, when we were going out to execute the first rigorous intervention campaign in West Africa in 2012, the guys knew we were embarking on something that had not been done before. And that gave us a clear target. And when we hit that target, collectively it felt great to every man on the vessel. We are familiar with the organizational pyramid. The mission and the vision are clear to the guys at the top. Though sometimes nobody bothers to share the story with the folks in the basement. They just need to get the work done, right? So we miss the unity around a singular purpose, a singular narrative. And that's how we lack that end-to-end view, that company-wide story that leaves people working in silos. And unless your organization creates an ubiquitous product like the iPhone, as you go further down the pyramid, you would likely have no clue who your customers are, further robbing you of that end result motivation. The result? The organization ends up feeling fragmented, out of communication, and without a unifying purpose. Executives and managers are thus left with an exhausting time, having to pull everybody forward with little help, sometimes even resistance from the guys further down. My experience offshore showed me that storytelling is a great way to create engaged and self-driven teams who identify with and respond to challenges and change. Storytelling can give your people a clear and relatable understanding of the organization's goals, benefits, and shared vulnerabilities. Like every good story has a conflict, an enemy. The organization needs to know what they are fighting for and against. Like in my Monkey Fist experience, Chuck knew who the real enemy was, the scope. And that's why there were no hard feelings. We are connected by that shared story. When you have a clear story, it becomes easy for leaders to communicate that up and down the ladder. And by being intentional, we connect, own it, and relate it and mirror it to our own experiences. Let me share a story. The oil and gas industry, the old days used to be likened to the wild, wild west, extremely dangerous. And probably I shouldn't be saying this because of stereotyping, but we would often describe people who would do risky things without regards for safety as cowboys. This chart here shows the fatality in the oil and gas industry from 2008 to 2017, as reported by the International Association of Oil and Gas Producers. It's a very poor record, but one that is improving significantly, as you can see. And that's been brought about by the change in the messaging. And people have related to it based on this imagery of where we've been in terms of safety and where we want to be going forward. Unifying around a single story, Goal Zero, which is shorthand for zero harm, zero leak, zero ethics and compliance violations. Because we're all connected by this single story, everyone understands their responsibility for making sure that we're all safe. We think of our families and loved ones who expect us to come home safe. We remind ourselves of our vulnerabilities. Reflecting on past incidents, we challenge ourselves to relate to them in our own present experiences and how we can prevent such from occurring. The end result is an improved safety performance. Having a shared purpose, shared through storytelling, brings out the best in people. It drives a positive response to challenges and change, not just from the top down, but from the bottom up. We all should use our natural inclination for storytelling to engage with one another. In our monkey-faced experience, conflict could have had a negative consequence, as we know. But the connection to a shared narrative created a different and positive outcome. The monkey fist was missing. And so often do we neglect or overlook the power of storytelling. Its ability to forge extraordinarily strong connections, like the knot on the monkey fist. It's elements of a story that connect us, that transform our relationships to be more engaging. And I mean by saying this, people are our most important resource. It takes humility and vision to lead a team, stories to engage. And would it not be beautiful if we all worked with teams that were more engaged, knew what to do, and when to do it, to keep us not just safe, but efficient and competitive? Thank you.